All right, let's hit this quick little slurp of Jesus, dude. Jesus. I keep reading Maximum's stream titles and he's the phrase hit a quick little slurp is just infected my brain. Like what the fuck is that? I don't know. Anyway, we had a couple changes. I should have covered this a bit ago. I've been focused on doing some other things, so I just haven't. I also have. I'm debating whether or not I want to go through these interviews as well. I mean, a ton of people have already done them. I haven't actually gone through and read them myself, so maybe we'll do it. Maybe we won't. It just kind of depends on if I feel like it or if it's something you want to see. Um, but warrior stuff. It said reverted an unintentional change to Intervene's tooltip about I guess that's I'm assuming they're talking about that Intervene would be blocking, or you could intervene spells, which would have been sick, but it probably would have been too much for PvP and whatever. Reap the Storm now triggers from Cleave for arms. So Reap the Storms, here, we'll do this. So we actually have a little visual. That Reap the Storms for Slayer. It's mainly because, like, hey, to do AoE, you have to hit your AoE buttons, right? So why are we hitting Mortal Strike and single target to try and get our AoE damage out? It's basically the same fix as Colossus, where originally stacks of Colossal Might could not be built by hitting Cleave in AoE, and it was just like, well, this doesn't seem right, so they obviously just added it because it didn't make sense for it not to be there, which is good. Blade Master's Torment has been redesigned. Activating Avatar casts sweeping strikes, and while Avatar is active, the cooldown of Cleave is reduced by 1.5 seconds. Dev note. With the recent updates to Bladestorm, this talent went from strong synergy to a nearly lock-in, particularly for Slayers. I mean, it makes sense for Slayers because they have a ton of Bladestorm stuff, right? Like, it's a ton of Bladestorm stuff. So we redesigned this talent to be useful in AoE situations and provide a different rotational cadence during Avatar. So this, I think, is actually an interesting change, because just hit Avatar, do Bladestorm is kind of boring. One of the things I would really like to see, in which we'll look at the next one, right? We'll look at the next one, is that this here actually kind of changes how you play in your cooldowns, because your Cleave right now is a 4.5 second global. So what that does is it makes Cleave every other global instead of every 3 globals, even with haste and all that kind of stuff, right? So this means every other global during Avatar, you're going to be pumping out Cleave. And then when you look at something like Colossus, you've got like 25% increased Cleave damage against 5 targets, 20% increased Cleave damage. With all the new talents, you have like Fervor buffing Cleave, Barbaric Training buffing Cleave, Seismic buffing Cleave. Like, Cleave's gonna be doing a lot, right? Cleave's gonna be doing a ton, and now Cleave also works with Slayer, with Reap the Storms. So they're kind of breaking the thing back down. It's like, okay, AOE, you're hitting Cleave. Single target, you're hitting Mortal Strike. And they also recently made the change where Cleave just replaces Whirlwind on your bars, because why do you need Whirlwind and Cleave if they're going to be doing this with Cleave, which makes a lot of sense, helping with the AoE button bloat, helping with the rotation, buffing these buttons to allow them to be strong enough to make sense for you to hit them. So I think that's a really good thing, and I think the idea of changing Avatar so it actually kind of changes how you play during your cooldowns a little more interesting. But now, but they do that with Blade Masters, but Warlord's Torment, right? Activating Avatar casts Recklessness with a duration of 6 seconds. The additional rage generated of this Recklessness cast is reduced by 25%, because they want to keep talking about or they want to make sure that they're dealing with the quote-unquote cosmetic rage bar of arms, which has been a problem throughout Dragonflight. And some of it's Warlord's Torment, because we have a lot of Recklessness uptime when it activated with Colossus Smash. But so they removed the Colossus Smash, and now it's just every minute and a half you get 6 seconds of a weaker Recklessness buff. talent just for a capstone talent, right? To get to this part of the tree, this bottom part of the tree, not only are you getting to this part of the tree, but this requires 20 out of your 31 points. And then 7 of those points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are guaranteed lock-ins, right? To get Avatar, that's 8. You have 9, 10, 11. You have 3 points left. And to have a capstone talent for single target being this dismal and weak is pretty cringe, honestly. I think they need to... Well, the reason why I mentioned the interesting part of remaking Blade Masters is they need to just remake Warlords. Just take the whole Recklessness part out of it. It's boring. They don't like the rage generation. Whatever. Who cares? Take it out. Give us something interesting. Like, give us something, like, during... Because it would be a pure single target bonus. Give us something like Mortal Combo from Shadowlands. It was a conduit that whenever you Mortal Strike, you had a chance to Mortal Strike. Just literally a second Mortal Strike would come out. So imagine if now, when you pop Warlord's Torment in single target, whenever you Avatar, or sorry, whenever you Mortal Strike, you have a chance to just Mortal Strike again. And then over the length of a fight, obviously there's RNG to play in that, and that nobody really likes RNG that much, but I mean, what if it was like a 40% chance that you just went bing, bing, and just did a 2 Mortal Strikes? The Mortal Strikes go with Colossus, the Mortal Strikes go with Slayer. Like, it would be, I think that would be a way better option than just, oh, hey man, you got 6 seconds of recklessness. Because as it stands, the way we're doing this, and with the bleed damage and everything's working out, we're probably just going to be taking Uproar, right? Because Uproar works with Skull Splitter. I mean, Uproar is 60 and Skull Splitter is 21, so it's kind of a weird... They desync a little bit, but Uproar lasts 15 seconds with Bloodletting, so even if you're just popping Uproar on cooldown, you'll be able to get the Skull Splitter benefit for most of it, even after like a couple casts, as long as things are synced up correctly. But they just need to remake this talent to something else, dog. Like, this Warlord's Torment is just terrible. And Fury already has Titan's Torment on their part of the tree, which reactivates like Odin's Fury when you do your thing, right? Or it gives you Wreck or Avatar if you cast one or the other, which works well with anger management, yada yada. So they just need to remake Warlord's Torment, man. They obviously don't want the additional rage, and instead of having a capstone that's essentially dead and single target, they just need to remake this shit. It is no bueno. Fury. Berserker's Torment Tooltip, Titan's Torment Tooltip. Cool. Odin's Fury damage increased by 133% overall. Wow. Okay. That's a pretty big number, right? They buffed Bladestorm by 70%, and then they said the buff made Blademaster's Torment a lock-in, right? That's how strong that Blademaster's Torment was. But with losing the tier set in Season 3 that increased the damage of Odin's Fury by 50%, making it a decent pickup, with buffing it by 133%, honestly, what I'm hoping is that what your build ends up being is Onslaught single target, Odin's Fury AoE. That's just what I want it to be, because I think that would be fine. I think even though it's like a static choice of one is single target, one is AoE, like even though it's a static choice, at the same time, at least there's a little choice there. It's a little different. They do different things for you in different situations. Maybe there's a raid fight where you want a little more AoE, so maybe you take Odin's Fury instead. I think it's really good. One of the things to note, however, though, is one of the things going for Tenderize especially is 3 stacks of Slaughtering Strikes. So the moment you cast Onslaught with this talent, your Rampage just does 60% more damage, which is crazy. So this talent is one of the reasons why Onslaught is so good as well. But they did that. And then the other interesting change. I don't know if this will push Reckless Abandon over the edge in terms of picking it up over Anger Management. I'm going to assume, based on how important Blade Storm is and the cooldown reduction is and all that stuff is, that Slayer Fury might still be playing anger management, even though it's somehow still bugged after months and not working. That it actually brings out a potential buff here, or the buff is actually brings out a good potential for Reckless Abandon. Because one of the problems we're actually having with Reckless Abandon is with the constant buffs to Bloodthirst to make it an actual button you want to press. You got into this weird situation where sometimes in your rotation you're using Rampage to not overcap on Rage, but because you're wanting to hit Bloodthirst on cooldown, then your Bloodbath is on cooldown because it's a 4.5-second cooldown. And Deft Experience no longer reduces the cooldown of Bloodthirst, it increases your Enrage duration. Because of that, you're in situations where you would Rampage, and then you just didn't have a button to press, because all you wanted to press it on was Bloodbath, because of how good Bloodthirst is now. But with this change, now you get a charge of Bloodbath and Crushing Blow. So it guarantees, because you can hit Bloodthirst every 3 globals, Rampage global, at the worst, Crushing Blow global, and then your Bloodbath global. So now you get all 3, and you're guaranteed that Bloodbath hit, especially with the, like I've said, all the continuous buffs to Bloodthirst. On top of that, if you do BT Rampage Crushing Blow BT, you're also getting value off of Blood Craze, which I don't know, it should work. I'm assuming, it says Raging Blow specifically, but I'm assuming you still get that stack of Blood Craze even if you use Crushing Blow. So it actually allows you to put up a sequence of setting up an even stronger Bloodbath with a higher % crit chance with this Blood Craze talent, which was also changed. So this actually has a lot of potential, I believe. I don't really know where the problem being, obviously, you play what's best. You play the big numbies, right? So obviously you will play this, and then you'll play this or play AM, whichever one does more damage. But this one just is a far better version of Reckless Abandon, as well as the nerfs to AM and Unbridled Ferocity, damaging the AM playstyle a lot more. Which I think is fine, but I still don't know why they're trying. It feels like they're trying to slow down Fury, even though that's kind of what Fury is. I don't know. I still feel kind of weird about it. This is the most interesting thing of all these patches. Like, this just needed to happen, and it was gonna happen, because, like, why wouldn't it? But the Blade Master's Torment thing is our first new fucking talent. Even though it's a redesign, it's still our first new thing we've gotten, and it's actually pretty good, because one thing you need to consider is even if you're activating Blade or Avatar and then going into Bladestorm with a class like Slayer, that still means that you're casting Sweeping Strikes, and most of the time you're going to be running Unhinged, so you're still going to get Sweeping Strikes, Mortal Strikes during the Bladestorm, with Bladestorm doing a ton of damage, as well as being able to proc Reap with those Mortal Strikes during the Bladestorm, doing a bunch of AoE damage. So this is actually, like, legitimately is an interesting change, and now they just need to do the same to Warlord's Torment, because Warlord's Torment is just dead in the fucking water, man. It's not a good talent, it's not interesting, there's nothing fun or cool about it, but they just need to change it to something else, so it actually has some form of fundamental impact on how we play our cooldown window, because that's at least somewhat interesting, right? But that's it for this. Once again, I'm still on the fence whether or not I want to go over these interviews. Maybe. There's a lot here, and what's not daunting to me is that there's a lot here, but honestly, here's the reality of it. I'm interested in this, right? I'm interested in these interviews. They were posted yesterday. I haven't even read through all of them. And then making a video gives me an excuse to kind of go through all of them and talk about them myself. So what I'm probably going to do is I will make these videos. I don't know how long they're going to be, but we'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, anyway, that's it for these changes. Hopefully we get some more changes. Hopefully there's another beta build rolling in. Coming soon this weekend. They said they're gonna do a lot of significant affix changes. Normally, the Mythic Plus is available during the weekend, so hopefully, either today, being Thursday, or tomorrow, we'll actually get maybe some new affix changes and or some more class changes to talk about. But yeah, that's it for this. I will keep these in the back of my head, and get to them when I have time. But otherwise, I will see you when I see you. Bye bye.